definitely one of the most intimidating things about visiting Japan is that they only speak Japanese here. It's not like Europe where you can get by on just, you know, English and a bonjour. You probably will encounter some Japanese here, and that is the bad news. But the good news is I really only think there's about 10 or so different Japanese phrases and situations that you'll really encounter as a tourist. So today, no worries, I'm gonna walk you through the simple Japanese phrases that I pretty much come across on a day-to-day basis. Starting with number 1, this one is yoyaku ga arimasu, yoyaku ga arimasu, which is I have a reservation. So this is what you'll say when you check into your hotel. This is the first thing you can say, konnichiwa, yoyaku ga arimasu. I assume most people would probably do when they're visiting Japan. And afterwards, they'll probably just ask for your name. This also works really well at a restaurant. If you have a reservation, you can go in and say yoyaku ga arimasu. Or even if you don't have a reservation, you could say this. And then I guess maybe you could get lucky and guess like a Japanese name, like pick like Yamamoto. There's like a billion Yamamotos. There's a good chance that some Yamamoto made a reservation and then bam, you just snatched his reservation. Pro tip. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I don't endorse that. And plus, you probably don't look like a Yamamoto anyways, but you know, they might be too awkward to call you out on that. Who knows? But anyways, yoyaku ga arimasu. Use it for when you check into a hotel or a dinner reservation or any kind of reservation really. So the next question you're probably going to get asked 99% of the time is nanmei sama desu ka, or nanmei desu ka, which is how many are in your party basically. Even if you don't really recognize or can hear this phrase correctly, you can just assume 99% of the time the question they are asking you is how many are in your party. You can learn the Japanese counters. I talked before about how to say it in a previous video. Essentially, you can say hitori if it's one person, nime if it's 2 persons, sammei if it's 3 people, yonmei if it's 4 people, or, you know, my tip is just to hold up the fingers, you know, it's just way easier. You look cooler too, which counts for a lot, you know, and the locals do it too, so I don't think you have to concern yourself super much with learning how to respond with how many people are in your party, although you certainly can. Just hold up the fingers for everyone to see and just assume the first phrase they're pretty much always gonna ask you is, how many people are with you. Number 3, not number 6, number 3, sorry, only 3 fingers. This is the most basic one. It's probably the most used Japanese word of all time, I would say, and you probably heard it before. Sumimasen. Of course, this means excuse me, please. It's to get attention. You use this every day, constantly, non-stop. Anytime you're in a bar in izakaya, sumimasen, you gotta flag the waiter down because they're not coming up to you without a sumimasen. That's just not how you do things here. So unless you just want to sit at your table until the end of time, you gotta big strong voice, chest up, sumimasen them down. But sumimasen is essential. It can be a little embarrassing, especially if you're not used to having to like call someone down in a busy restaurant, but it's okay. It's totally part of the culture. Just down a couple beers first if you're nervous, although you won't be able to get the beers without sumimasening to order them first, so that might be problematic. Buy some beers in the konbini, down them, then go into the restaurant, and with your new liquid courage, sumimasen as loud as you can do it. Every other phrase pretty much relies off being able to sumimasen in the first place. So although I most commonly use sumimasen as like excuse me to get a waiter's attention, it can also mean pardon me. If you bump into someone on the train, you'll probably go sumimasen. Although actually a lot of times the trains are too crowded, people don't even bother bumping into people because you're constantly bumping into people. But it can also actually mean like thank you in a way. Like if the waiter passes you something or refills your glass, you can actually go hi sumimasen, like I'm so sorry to burden you with doing your job of, you know, giving me water or a glass. It can kind of be used to say thank you as well. Super versatile word. Probably one of the #1 top words I would know coming into Japan. You're not going to get very far without it, that's for sure. Even if like what you use after sumimasen is all English, it's a good start to just flag the waiter down by using sumimasen. Number 4, and this is the most important part, probably actually ordering your food, and I'm going to teach you the absolute easiest way to do it in Japanese. Now, of course, if you want to do this in English, you can probably just do it in English and just point. They'll understand. But if you want to be a little fancier, there's a really simple way to order pretty much anything. Luckily, all the menus in Japan have lovely pictures on them, so it's easy to visualize what you're getting, unless of course you go to a real old fancy izakaya where the menu is all in ancient Japanese calligraphy handwriting that even the most studious of Japanese students could not, you know, comprehend. You're on your own on that one, like good luck. I struggle with those too, and I tend to usually just give up. But for most normal restaurants, you can just point and say kore kudasai. Kore just means this, so whatever you point to, kore, and then kudasai, as I said before, is just please. So you can pretty much point to anything, say kore kudasai, and you are good to go. And I do that half the time too, honestly. Number 5, this is a good one if you like to drink and plan on going to a lot of bars. It is moipo. Moipo basically just means one more, please. So if you're done with your beer and you want another beer, you can just say moipo. Of course, you have to sumimasen first. See how everything comes back to sumimasen. Sumimasen, moipo, onegaishimasu, kudasai. Once again, onegaishimasu, kudasai just meaning please. One quick note though, moipo literally means one more of this drink. So if you want a different drink, you're gonna have to go back to the whole kore kudasai thing. This will get you the exact same drink you got beforehand. So if you want to try something else, well, I commend you on being an adventurous person because I like to just order the same thing over and over again. It's a really easy way to just order the exact same drink, and once again, you're building your street cred with every Japanese phrase you use. You're earning the trust of the person running the bar or the izakaya, and they will return your trust with like respect. Yeah. And honestly, it's a good way to start a conversation too. Like, you know, if they're willing to see that you're trying to speak a little Japanese, they'll probably be willing to try, you know, their limited English as well. Number 6, 3. This is a really important one, and this is one of my most used phrases too. It comes after sumimasen. It comes at the end of the meal, and that is okaike onegaishimasu or okaike kudasai. Literally meaning like check please. This is how you ask for your check in basically every single Japanese izakaya, restaurant, bar. Okaike onegaishimasu, and usually you have to sumimasen first. Sumimasen, okaike onegaishimasu, and that's how you ask for your check at a bar, restaurant, izakaya. So knowing the word for check I think is really useful. At the end of okaike, okaike means check. You can either say kudasai, which means please, or onegaishimasu, which it kind of also means please. They're just two different ways of saying it. Either is fine. Okaike is even the really important one. You can drop the kudasai or onegaishimasu altogether. Just okaike, you'll get it. It means check. And that's how you ask for your check. After a restaurant or pretty much any meal, ask for the okaike. Number 7, this is the last of our restaurant ones, and this is a really important one. It is betsu betsu dekimasu ka, or betsu betsu onegaishimasu. So betsu betsu, cute little word, it means pay separately. So essentially, if you want to pay separately, you're probably going to have to ask. They're not just going to assume that everyone has their own separate checks, and they're probably not going to ask you at the beginning of the dining experience too. Betsu betsu dekimasu ka is, can you do separate checks? Now, when you ask this, be ready for them to say no a lot of the time, even though I'm 100% convinced they're perfectly good. Cash register could in fact do split checks. Like, how could it not? It's a machine, it's a calculator, it can do it. But a lot of restaurants just have a policy that we're like, nope, we don't do separate, sorry about you. And that's just kind of how Japan is sometimes, and you're just gonna have to do a huge scramble over, okay, if someone pays with a card, how much cash do I have? Do you have enough cash? Oh, I only have a 50. Do you want to exchange it? Oh no, but I only have a 50 as well. Okay, well, I can pay with card, and then you can give me the 50. She can give you the 100, and then you can pay me back and buy me the... It becomes a whole thing. I've had to do this many of times. But if you're lucky, they can do betsu betsu, and then you can just ask, say, oh, ja, betsu betsu onegaishimasu, which is, okay then, separate checks, please. It's worth asking, it's worth trying. A lot of more modern and recent places can do betsu betsu. A lot of the old izakayas, they're basically never going to be able to split the check, so just kind of be prepared anytime you go into a restaurant to someone having to put their entire card down or do an awkward money scrounge up, and someone will inevitably, you know, pay a lot less than they should. But that is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Okay, I think those are the main phrases you'd use for a restaurant. A bonus too, I mean, you've probably seen before, itadakimasu is what Japanese people say before they eat. Basically just means I humbly receive this food. You don't have to say it as a foreigner. You can. I pretty much never do, honestly. I asked my Japanese friends once, I was like, do you say itadakimasu like when you're alone? And they're like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, wow. It really just is like really ingrained here, but nah, no one's gonna care as a foreigner if you say it or if you don't say it. Also at the end of the meal, gousou shimadeshita. That's thank you for the feast, basically. You can also say that, a lot of people say it as they leave the restaurant. Kind of like thank you the chef for the meal. But once again, no sweat if you don't do that. I was also thinking about including like, oh, asking how to get to the toilet or where's the toilet. You know, I feel like every language teaches you that. Donde está la biblioteca? In Japanese, ma, toire wa doko desu ka? But I mean, does anyone ever really ask where the toilet is? Do you not just like get up and look around the restaurant for the sign? I feel like that's what most people do. I feel like it's one of those ones you can kind of figure out yourself, so I didn't include it on this list for that reason. I trust y'all can find the toilet, I believe. Okay, number 8. This is the one outside of restaurants that I think is the most important phrase, and the phrase I definitely wish someone would have told me about before I went to Japan. So every time you go to a convenience, and you will go to a konbini pretty much every day, I promise. The first question the person behind the register will ask you is basically some iteration of, do you need a bag? Now, there's a lot of ways they can ask this, like, fukuro doshimasu ka? Raribukuro iremasu ka? Like, do you need a bag? What are you gonna do about the bag? They ask it in a lot of different ways, so don't worry too much about being able to listen and understand what they're saying. Fukuro means bag. That's usually one of the words in there that they'll pretty much always use. You can listen for it. Just assume whenever you put your stuff down on the counter, if they ask you something, 9 times out of 10 they're asking you, do you want a bag? And of course, this is up to you. Do you need a bag? If that's the case, you can say onegaishimasu, which basically means yes please, and they'll give you a bag. If not, you can use the other most important phrase in all of Japanese, you probably heard it before, which is daijoubu desu, which means I'm good, no worries. I also say this if they try to hand you a receipt and you don't want the receipt, daijoubu desu. Whenever you're confused about anything anyone's saying, you're not sure, daijoubu desu. It's a good, like, default safe answer. Someone rambles at you, 9 times out of 10 I'll just go, oh, daijoubu desu. I don't want whatever it is you said, or I'm good. I don't need whatever it is you asked me. Of course, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but when in doubt, always bring out the daijoubu desu. It's the most powerful tool in your Japanese kit, daijoubu desu. It is all powerful. Pretty much any situation can be solved using daijoubu desu. You know, someone asks you if you need a bag, daijoubu desu. Someone asks you if you want to join a cult, daijoubu desu. The police try to arrest you, daijoubu desu. I'm good, thank you though. Well, actually no, I'm trying not to get arrested because all the Japanese in the world could not help you if you happen to get arrested in Japan. Avoid that one. That's a good pro tip for sure. But yeah, just assume they're asking you if you want a bag. The first time I came to Japan, I went to the konbini, and of course I didn't know that's what they were asking me, and I was so proud of myself because I just moved. I'd studied Japanese for 6 months. I thought I was, you know, all Nihongo Jozu, and I went into the konbini the first time and I was so confident. I put my stuff down on the counter and the lady of course asked me in Japanese, do you need a bag? And of course I didn't understand her at all. I had no idea what she was asking me. The last time I had been to Japan just on vacation, they didn't used to ask this. So I just stood there awkwardly being like, huh? Nani? I didn't even use the daijoubu desu. I don't know what was wrong with me. And she eventually like had to bring out a bag and like pantomime the bag, and I'm like, daijoubu desu. And she's like, man, these gaijin over here. Kind of embarrassing. Eventually I figured out what they were asking me, and now I pretty much, out of resentment and spite, never accept the bag. I always bring my own backpack around. But yeah, daijoubu desu. So number 9, getting to the end. So this one's useful if you plan on going to any museums, theme parks, anything you need to buy a ticket for. So usually you'll have to go up to the ticket booth, or if you're lucky they might have electronic tickets. So that's fortunate because then you don't have to have the awkward social interaction that so many of us fear and dread. But a lot of times it's a person, so it's a Japanese person. So how do you ask for tickets in Japanese? Well, there's a couple different ways to do it. Usually the tickets are split up into adult tickets, kid tickets, and seniorly tickets. So if you're ordering the adult tickets, the word for that is otona, that's adult. Usually I'm ordering for myself, so I'm an adult, believe it or not, and the word for that is otona. So you can just go up and say otona ichimai onegaishimasu, and that's basically just ordering 1 adult ticket for yourself. If you're ordering 2 adult tickets, otona nimai onegaishimasu, 3 otona sanmai onegaishimasu. If you need a kid ticket and an adult ticket, let's say you're traveling with young children, bless your soul, in Japan, you could ask for otona ichimai and then kodomo, which is kid, kodomo ichimai onegaishimasu. So 1 adult, 1 kid. There's a bunch of different combinations depending on your party, but it's pretty simple ordering. The word for ticket also is chiketto, so basically ticket but with like a Japanese accent, so that's convenient too, although you don't really need to use that. The ticket person's gonna assume you want tickets if they're at a ticket booth. It's kind of the whole, like, you know, they understand. Also, they usually have student tickets, and most students can get a discount pretty much anywhere in Japan. So if you're a student in America, it might be worth trying. I think before I was a student in America, and when I came to Japan on vacation, I asked for a student ticket, and they usually ask to see your student ID, and I just showed them my like Texas Tech, that's my college university ID, and they gave me the discount, so worth a shot. Can't guarantee it'll work 100% of the time, but I can guarantee it will work some percent of the time. Number 10, the home stretch. So one of the things I totally recommend you do in Japan is go shopping, go clothes shopping. They have some awesome styles here, between the edgy street core and then the cute like Lolita goth style. Take a guess at which one suits me the best. think I would look great in the whole lace made. Never mind, we're getting so off track. Forget I said that. Anyways, it's how to ask to try something on. Usually they have staff wandering around the clothing store, and it's common to want to be able to try stuff on, especially sizes in Japan are kind of small sometimes, so it's definitely a good idea to try something on. How you would say that is, これ着てみていいですか? So that whole phrase is like, can I try this on, basically. これ着てみていいですか? And the staff person should understand you, but they'll lead you to the dressing room. Be careful with dressing rooms. A lot of time in Japan, they make you take your shoes off for most of them, and they will also probably give you a, what is it? It's kind of like a bag to put over your head. Not because you're ugly or anything, I'm sure you're beautiful, but it's so that your makeup or other clothes or oils don't get on the clothes. So you put the bag over your head first, and then you put the clothes on over the bag. So that way the clothes never touch your face, and pretty much all clothing stores will give you this to try on. The first time I got one, I had absolutely no idea what it was. I didn't even use it. And then when I handed it back to the lady unused after I tried on the clothes, she kind of gave me a look and like, once again, this gaijin. I'm like, I'm sorry. But yeah, but that's what the bag's for. And also make sure you take off your shoes before you go into the dressing room, because if you don't, you'll probably get a reaction. The Japanese staff lady will probably be like, oh, sumimasen, 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 and like, you know, probably awkwardly motion at your shoes and signaling you to take them off. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, definitely try the clothes on. Kore kite mite ii desu ka? And you'll be good to go. Also, another note on trying things on, something really common in Japan is that they'll have a one fit size. So basically, there's no small, medium, large, or you know, the complex hieroglyphics that is American women clothing, the American women clothing system. Instead, they'll just have literally one size that is expected to fit like 90% of the population, but as you can imagine, for Japanese women, it is a really small size. So don't feel bad if you don't fit into it, like most of us don't. So that is something to keep in mind. If you see the word free or free size, it means it's a one size fits all. This is all they have. So there you go. Those are the 10 phrases that I pretty much use the most in Japan. They'll cover about 95% of situations I think you could really even be in as a tourist. These should cover pretty much all your bases. Let me know if you guys use any of them. Done it.